For my millions and my billions of fans, who is my very, very special guest today?
Hey, what's up? It's Katmandoom.
Catmandoom. The applause goes crazy. It's ridiculous in here. The energy you can't feel is your fault, and I feel bad for you. I really, really do. And first question is how do we spell that? Because people obviously already people want to know who Katmandoom is, but they can't find Katmandoom because they don't know how to spell it. So how do you spell that?
It's K as in Kevin. ATMAN as in Nancy. DOOM. So like Katmandoom, but with an M on the end.
Yeah, with
basically.
an M. If you thought it was Dune, you heard me incorrectly, right? And my man here is a producer, beat maker. But before we get into the music, we have to go back before we go forward, if that makes any sense, right? So we have to figure out where you came from, where you as an artist, where that energy began in you, right? So let's go back to an adolescent age.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh man, I'm so glad we're going there.
So perfect. So where are you from, sir?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm from Lyons, Colorado. I was born in Boulder, Colorado, and I've been basically in the Front Range area since I've been growing up here. But yeah, I grew up in Lyons, and it's kind of right at the base of the Rocky Mountains in the Front Range of Colorado.
Now tell me a little more about Lyons, because I'm coming out the Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
And some people haven't even been here. They haven't been to the Box State. What kind of place is Lyons?
It's very, very small, like 2,000, 3,000 people when I was there, and pretty much just a stop on the way to a lot of tourist attractions. Really, nothing much there. There's very little.
What are some tourist attractions that are there?
Well, I would say nothing there, but people pass through there on their way to Estes Park.
What's that?
That's
Please,
a place.
I'm new.
No, it's okay. That's kind of it's where the Stanley Hotel is. It's where that's where the movie The Shining is set.
Fuck.
And they I don't think it was actually shot there, but there's just a lot of people who kind of go on road trips and stuff to like that area, and it's very beautiful up there in Estes Park. It's where Long's Peak is. It's one of the most like world-renowned like 14,000 foot peaks. Lots of like hikers and outdoorsmen go up there for Rocky Mountain National Park. Mainly, I guess I'd say that's like the most like tourist attraction spot. But yeah, but as you're driving up there, you stop. That's like the only place you can stop is in Lyons. So there you have that.
What's it? Okay, so that's the outside view of it. Like,
Yeah,
what is
yeah,
it like
outside.
living there? Like, what's it like living there?
It was cool. I had, the most awesome environment to grow up in. There's never really much bad anything happening there. You know what I mean? It was very much. I had it really good when I was younger, and then
Good.
It was just cool. Like I got to kind of not be exposed to a bunch of people, so I was always kind of really sheltered. But I was always really drawn towards cities and more populated areas, and we'd
Like
always
curious.
go out to kind of go like other places to go enjoy ourselves or whatever. And even when I was younger and I wasn't into music as much, it's like I would always go to the other skate parks and other towns, and just kind of try and branch out from where I was, because it was really boring for me at the time, and it just wasn't very immersive. It wasn't very exciting for me, I guess I should say, as a youngster, and I didn't really appreciate it very much. But now I do really love that I am from there, because it's a cool place to be from. It's a small town. Everybody knows you. It's just kind of one of those like really chill kind of atmospheres, and it's changed a lot even since from when I grew up there. There used to be trailer parks and stuff and more of a diversity and just the
Did it get
demographic
did it get
living there.
gentrified?
Yes, very much. I'd say because of the flood that happened in 2013, it really knocked out all those lower ground
Whoa.
residences and kind of the
Okay, hold on,
more
hold on,
inexpensive.
hold on.
Yeah.
I might have to know this. So there was a big flood in 2013
Yes.
that fucked up what everything and
Pretty much.
changed the what? Oh, how did that happen here? I don't. It doesn't even rain out here.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's how that happens.
Yeah, yeah. Please,
And a long story
please,
short,
please, please.
it's pretty simple to explain. But
Yeah.
what it is it's so hot during the summers and it's so dry that all the topsoil on the top of the layers of the Earth's crust get so dry that the little rain and precipitation that does fall does not soak up into the landscape at all. It just sits on top because it's just been baked so hard and it's so dry and it's so hard that it can't seep down in there. So it just collects and coagulates and then it eventually all the reservoirs fill up and I guess not the reservoirs but the dams really or what do they call those things? Is it a reservoir? Yeah.
I don't know, bro. This is beyond me.
But yeah, I think that's mainly the reason why it is, and so it just kind of it just spills over from man-made lakes. That's a reservoir. Am I crazy?
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, maybe you are. We'll see. So that okay. So that yeah. I mean.
But anyways,
changes
yes,
a lot.
that gentrified my whole town. That changed everything from when
Is
I
it
was
all
in high
yuppie
school.
and shit?
I graduated high school the year before. And then that happened, and then from then on, it was always just different, and I never really enjoyed it as much, or
Is
like
it
how
the
does
kind of small town where like people from that town have kids, and then their kids meet someone from else that's been from that town for a long time, and they have kids. Like, is it a small town where like,
Sorta.
people don't leave?
yeah,
And then you get to judging them like, yo, like
Yeah.
you never left this small town. Like
Yeah.
your kid's playing at the same high school that has a graduating class 150
yeah,
is me.
it's sort of hickish, I guess.
Yeah.
From
I lived in hick
the
places.
more of the background of it is more of kind of a country kind of vibe, but I mean, even from when I started growing up there, it's like you can tell it was sort of more progressive because it's like Boulder, there's way more liberal people there, and it's kind of just this pocket of kind of people trying to whatever sort of go against the grain, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. I spent time in Boulder, and they seem like a little like fake liberal.
yeah,
Like they're
yeah.
liberal because it's cool to be liberal.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
I know what you mean. But
But
the values are
they
still
still
kind of
look at me-
conservative. Yeah, that's I see what you're saying,
And they're
man.
like,
My parents kind
You're
of give
still
me
that
that vibe.
N-word.
Like they sort of claim that they're more on like the hippie end of things, and they sort of go leaning towards this
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm a pot smoker or whatever. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? But they still got the 401k, and you know what I mean.
Which got
And-
healthier?
yeah,
due
yeah,
to
yeah.
the president.
I don't know. But that's the thing is like that's where they're is from a much more conservative background where your values are kind of more strict. It's
Yeah.
like you see the certain things in society as being very necessary. You know what I mean? Like the way
Facts,
things are
facts.
is working out for you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
How
Like,
convenient.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, enough about that. So yeah, so small town shit. I still want to stick to when you're younger. Do you think there's, or can you recall a moment where you first saw that you were a creative? It could be something
Yes.
very simple. It doesn't have to be this big thing. Do you remember something early? Can you recall a time and maybe tell me in my millions and billions of fans?
Yeah. I kind of mainly just started off doing art projects
Like what?
with
Okay.
my mom and her daycare that she ran when I was really
Oh,
young. But then eventually I started playing music. When I was like 11, I started playing guitar and clarinet, and
nice.
then that's when I started really kind of enjoying. And at that time, I wasn't really being creative with my music. I was just kind of being instructed so I could learn the practice. But I'd say creativity itself was always like doing art projects and craft projects and stuff. Just when I was really little, that was
Yes.
mainly the first kind of art that I ever did. But yeah, just like drawing and making sculptures and stuff like that.
Like clay.
Yeah, yeah, like just like I don't know, like making bird
Yeah.
baths out of concrete and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And so okay. So what was the project? So you were that sounds like like a class, right? So what did you see in yourself? I think is more of what I'm asking. Like what did you see in yourself when you're like, yo, like I'm different though. Like I got something else going on. Like do you remember anything like that? It doesn't
Yes.
have to be like this huge moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. I can kind of
Does that make sense? That
ballpark
question?
what you're saying right now. Yeah. Um,
And like maybe something that like it led into you being the creative you are. You know what I mean? Like, is there a big like milestone, a moment that just hit you like, whoa, like,
yeah, I remember there being this really specific time where all the music that I was finding out about and everything that I was just kind of getting into was just and I didn't really realize it at the time, but it was kind of a turning point for me. And it was right after I had graduated high school, and it was a year after that, and it was kind of right as electronic music and trap music were kind of becoming synonymous almost. And then
yeah.
also I remember hearing
Wait, no, 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 wait. Can
all
if,
of
if you can pause and answer this question, what do you what around what time was that? Because I know what you're talking about.
2013,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
ish.
ish
And
around.
that's also when I kind of got into like Kendrick Lamar's music, and I heard his Section 80 album, and then I heard his newer thing that he had just put out around then, and just kind of getting in, and I that was the first time I heard really like mainstream style rap, besides like Lil Wayne when he came out with the Carter 3. That was like one of the first kind of times when I was really young that I was like, whoa, this is like super cool. But I
Yeah,
still
yeah.
didn't really get into it as much as right around in 2013 when I started getting into Kendrick Lamar and just like his beats and the stuff that he was doing around that time, like the backseat freestyle and whatnot. You know what I mean? That was awesome. I just had, and I remember that being the time where there was just so much cool stuff going on in that world, and it was just like really hype. And that's when I was like, yeah, I want to start DJing. I want to start making my own music and performing, and basically, performing at parties, performing at clubs. Making it happen with the just being very exciting.
Well, okay, so you would say that, and thank you for that. You would say your first venture into this music kind of game would be DJing, right?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what what did it take for you to get prepared to start DJing for people?
Uh, well, I mean, I sort of got to experiment with just using the equipment and stuff like that. But really, in at the end of the day, it kind of took more of just me learning my library, finding the stuff I really wanted to play and that people responded to, and getting the experience of actually like performing and playing at venues and doing the things that DJs do, I guess. And it took a long time for me to get that experience,
Did
but
you have to like go like Did you like go like buy equipment where you're like,
Yeah.
yo, oh, I gotta get this shit? Like, what did you get? What did you get? Did you get like virtual DJ with like what did you
Yeah.
do? What did you do?
Yeah, I got a Pioneer SB2 DJ table and some little studio monitors that were very much studio monitors, but I would just bring them to people's houses and turn them all the way up and call them DJ speakers.
Fuck yeah.
Call them monitors, stage monitors. Yeah, so I started off with just the cheapest, like $200 speakers, and like it was just the absolute lowest I could spend was $200, but that was all I had really to spend on speakers, and it was whatever. But yeah, so I started off with that and my little DJ table and my laptop, and that was all I had for the longest time. It's like,
Yeah, bro.
and we rode that into the ground. That was
got
very
to.
much
Do you think
my humble beginnings, I guess.
Yeah. With your humble beginnings, you think you got enough work out of those speakers to take it to the next level? Do you think that?
No, most definitely.
Do you have any interesting stories or times when you were DJing, like where things got crazy, or maybe you learned something more about the music industry, anything like that?
I can tell you this, segueing from that last topic into this, what you just asked me. I can't tell you how much stuff that has gotten drinks spilled on it, or you use it too many times and it just stops working. Like the amount of wear and tear on the equipment that I have bought is insane. Like I've gotten so many different copies of the same piece of equipment, or just replacements for stuff, and that's like the hardest part about it is you make these investments and you kind of go out and you want to show your stuff or whatever, but really none of that really makes a difference to the people that are there just enjoying it, because they already paid to get in. So
Yes.
if something bad happens, they're just like, whatever, but yeah, that is one of the, when I was running my own venue, I've had someone spill drink on my $1,200 DJ controller that I just we've been waiting forever to get, and it was terrible. I had to, it ruined me kind of.
Did you guys beat him up?
During that time? No, I really
Whoop
should
his
have.
ass?
I'm too cool for that.
Yeah.
I don't like violence
chill.
because I'm really small, and I would get my ass kicked anyways by getting in a fight. But at that time, the right thing to do would have been to kick his ass. Yes.
At least a little bit.
Yeah.
At least a little bit, bro. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So after DJing, you did that for a little bit, like a couple years, like a year.
I mean, I kind of just. I wished I could sort of get into that world for a long time, and I never really tapped into it as much as I'd have liked. Like I would get gigs here and there, and mostly it was just always just kind of playing house parties and going to places where I wanted to be, and sort of hoping everything else would follow. Other than that, yeah, that's where it all kind of began, and eventually I started sort of getting with other people who needed that service, and obviously I was sort of at that, eventually got to the point where I had something to offer to people who really needed something like that, which is the ability to use the equipment and the equipment to do what they needed, to get done, or whatever. But so I liked just playing music, but after a while I was like, well, I have all this stuff, I should really put it to use so I can make good of this investment that I made, and have a good time doing it, because I just enjoy performing with people. I enjoy being part of people's performance and just being part of music events in general. It's just my thing. Like I love just that vibe of shows, and artists doing what they do and expressing themselves. And that's the thing, is like I make beats for people too, or I have a lot in the past. And so that feeling of making something and sort of creating this artistic project with somebody, and then being able to then go on and perform it, and have that whole creative process come to fruition, and we get to display, what we're doing.
Yeah,
And
of
it
course.
all just sort of started from the basic, the very most, minuscule form of that, and it eventually kind of came more to where you know, start to work with more notable artists or
Yep.
people that are a little bit more serious, and maybe they're not more well known, but like the more and more people you work with, the more you see kind of a difference in just the low level of like people are more dedicated to what they're doing, or maybe not, you know what I mean? But eventually you kind of you get to know the type of people you want to be around within that world, but it's been a learning process for sure,
Yeah, man.
Whoa.
And you've learned a
Oh,
lot.
I
You've
didn't
learned a
spill it.
lot. You good?
Yeah.
You learned a lot. So when did DJing become production? Right? You were DJing. You did all that. You got some gigs. You get paid. It's fun, but it's not enough for you. It's not enough for you. You want more than that within music, within yourself. When did it become the point where you're like, yo, I'm about to start like creating something? Do you remember that?
Yes, absolutely. And to be honest, I always felt as though it would be way more rewarding to be kind of involved in both of those things instead of just one of those things from the very beginning. So, I had downloaded my first, digital audio workstation along with right when I started DJing, just, mixing tracks, really, But I was trying to teach myself how to use a DAW from the very beginning, and it just wasn't really working out for me, and I didn't really know how to do what I was trying to do. But then eventually, I decided to go to trade school and actually learn how to use it. So I went to audio engineering school and took classes on that. And that's where it really took off, to where I was like, oh yeah, cool. Like this is more of a something serious within that realm, and I started
Did
putting
you
in
have
more
good
time into
instructors?
that.
Did you like your instructors?
Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah, I liked mine too.
Yeah, no, it was cool. Actually, I didn't really like the owners and the proprietors of the
Oh.
school.
Wait, huh? What do you
Yeah,
mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
because they were kind of nuts. They were like Christian nuts, But then some of my instructors were people that they had like recruited from other places that they were just a little different, and whatever. They kind of had their own thing
What?
going on. But I honestly feel like that school was kind of a scam. I got a lot out of it, but
Oh yeah, yeah. Aren't most schools a scam though? Isn't that how it works? Am I off on that?
no.
Isn't that how it is?
Well, they eventually kind of used me to.
Make hits.
Well, yeah, basically. I mean,
Wow.
that was the idea,
You
right?
gotta sue them. That's what the game's about. It's all about suing right now, man.
Yeah, that's definitely. When I got into music, I decided, man, I just want to sue the shit out of someone.
Yeah, it's like, yo, where are the
Once I do
lawsuits
that,
at?
I've made it.
Don't you feel like that when you got all these lawyers on retainer? You could really get somebody. People use your voice for a tag or something.
Yeah,
Sued.
sued.
You're gonna get to that level, my man. So okay, so at this point now that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Now we're at the part, where you are a producer, Katmandoom, and now we get to understand. Well, we don't get to understand, but I get to try to understand your formula and where you're at currently, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that
yeah.
make sense? So now we've taken our journey and we've gotten to Katmandoom, right? So before you get into to who you are now, how did you come up with that name?
That's a great question. It's a super weird name, and I don't really have any like specific inspiration that I draw from it or for to draw from to get that name. But really, the name just kind of came to me, and it was like I just knew that was my name. I was like,
It
that's
just came to you.
yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And
how did it come to you? Though?
I don't know. I don't know.
In a
I
dream?
kind of
What
thought
were
of
you
it, and I liked
doing?
the sound of it, and then I created this graphic, or I had a friend of mine create this graphic, and you know those Mancoon cats, you know, and they have this big like mane kind of, you know.
Yes.
He was able to create like a caricature of myself with my hair, my long hair. And it sort of looked like this cat, you know what I mean? And it was just this cool kind of, like, I guess the only word I can really say is caricature of myself, but it looked like a cat, you know? It looked exactly like a cat, but it also looked exactly like me. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Like, I can take that image and kind of, like, run with it a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, as far as the the name itself goes, like, I have no real explanation for that, to be honest.
And that's fine, and that is totally fine. But
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
but what does that mean to you? What does Katmandoom mean to you? What does that mean, Katmandoom? When I read that, how should I feel?
Well, I guess the word kind of stemmed, I guess, from Katmandoom, which is a mountain region in Nepal. But I guess when I think about it now, it's like I kind of gravitate more towards ethnic, oriental, any sort of sounds that kind of are less native to this area. Like I really like just like that eastern kind of like shamisen kind of sounds of shit like that. You know what I mean? Like just like really more like just kind of diverse sounding
Yeah.
instrumentation, I guess. And I always kind of gravitate more towards that of just like cool, like stringed instruments that aren't necessarily guitars or violins or something like that, you know, and more like awesome kind of like even like African drumming, for example, like stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like anything that's just not based from this continent, I always find myself sort of gravitating more towards that. So I think it kind of stems from this like fascination with just a more like exotic sort of unknown culture that where I've had like tastes of that sound, you know. I don't really
Yeah.
truly like understand it yet, you know, but I love the way it sounds more than what, you know, pop music and stuff is, you know, to me
Yeah.
now. Or even just
Yeah.
classic rock and stuff that I got into, you know, and stuff like that in the beginning, from what like really inspired me to get into music, like Led Zeppelin, Nine Inch Nails, Smashing Pumpkins,
Smashing
even like
Pumpkins,
Bob
yes.
Marley, and just all that like stuff that you kind of hear all the time, anyways, you know. But yeah, eventually I kind of just started going towards that more just outlandish kind of stuff. But maybe that has something to contribute towards that name. I don't really know, but
It just kind of happened.
yeah, it did. It just kind of happened. My old moniker before that was Stone Faced Gorilla, but I kind of got away from that because I just felt like it wasn't really very.
Is there always an animal involved
an animal?
with your names?
Well, it's not gorilla. It's gorilla, like grill. Gorilla.
Oh, okay. But yeah, but people are gonna think gorilla though, right?
No, that was a lot of the. Everybody always thought I was saying gorilla.
So
that wasn't ideal.
so you would categorize yourself as a person who makes beats, beat
Yeah.
maker,
Yeah.
right? Right now,
Yeah, I'd say so, and you know,
among other things.
yeah, mainly though, just right now for sure, just making beats, sound engineering, trying to just get into how to make the sounds I'm using to just do whatever I'm trying to do, play nice together, you know, and that's a lot of really the work that I will do for anybody if somebody wants my help with anything, it's more of just like the processing of trying to help them mix their stuff better, or not necessarily record it or write the songs, but just to get the sound, like the processing of the sound engineering kind of more towards what they want. And I'm not even really into mastering at all yet, but just trying to take the raw sounds from a point where you've recorded everything and put everything together to where now you can play it through any stereo system or speakers you want, and it
Speakers,
sounds
phone,
good.
car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a term for that I forgot. Do you well, how if for people who don't know you, can you compare your style of beat making or beats or production to maybe somebody a little more famous?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Are you able to do that?
Yeah. Well, I'd say the person who really comes to mind first would be Mr. Carmack. He is an electronic artist, and he produces for people as well. But then, even on a more broader scale, the way I kind of found out about him was through Diplo, who's
Okay.
kind of got this like urban kind of sound,
Diplo's
but
huge.
he's got
Diplo's
more of
huge.
electronic based following for like techno music and stuff like that. But I remember kind of at first when he sort of came more heavy onto the scene and got into his like superstardom. I was like, wow, that's cool. I remember myself idolizing Diplo's sound a lot in the beginning, but I've really moved away from that into something a little bit more kind of experimental. But that like kind of just influence of like hip hop and then electronic music and club music kind of together, like that's always been my basis for pretty much whatever I do, because
Yeah.
I just try to imagine, like I make a lot of instrumentals like hip hop beats and stuff like that, but I always add some kind of weird wonky sounds in there, some like video game sounds to kind of make it a little bit more just weird sounding, I guess, or I don't know. I haven't really gotten too much into the dancey kind of stuff yet. Like I like making
Is that
beats for first and
do you
foremost,
want
but
do you want to
my
do
sound
that?
design kind of goes more into like the techno sound. You know what I mean?
The techno, would you say dance hall? Would you say EDM? Would you say things like that?
Sort of, but I kind of focus on a lot of like found sounds and stuff like that. Like I have sort of gotten into making my own synthesizers and things like that, but really what I love to do is take audio files and samples of things that aren't necessarily meant to be musical even, and make that into like a tonal like snare or like a drum sound or something like that, and like repurpose kind of just like samples of whatever they may be into like an actual song, really. Like I really really like
Yeah.
that, because I
Yeah,
just get
you
sick
got a lot
of
of like
hearing the same.
you got like a lot of blends and stuff.
Yeah.
From the limited amount of stuff that you put on the internet. Mm-hmm. You got a lot of like really good blends. That's what you're talking about, right? Like,
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think I try to kind of find sounds that are a little bit more different, or not quite what you're used to hearing, because I've heard the same snare and like hi-hat sounds and everything so many times that it's like I want to use something more that you just don't recognize immediately. You know what I mean? You're not like, oh yeah, like that just sounds, and then you kind of tune out. Like I'd rather use more of just like something a little bit weird that you wouldn't. It just would catch you off guard a little bit more. Or maybe like the snare has a little bit more reverb on it, and it's not
yeah.
so like hard hitting and so heavy hitting. You know what I mean? And so it just kind of gives that like atmosphere to the sound that, while it's like the same beat pattern as like maybe some of your favorite rap songs, but it's got some different kind of elements in it that make it a little bit more like, fresh or like progressive.
Yeah, of course, of course. And so I have to ask you, what how do you feel about the or what do you see in the Colorado rap scene? What do you know? Because I've been here for a little bit, but I haven't been able to go out and test the people, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely there. It's growing, and there's lots of people feeding into it. But from what I've experienced and getting into that world of that genre and just playing people's songs on stage for them and having them perform, there's always events and there's always little kind of cultural movements within different areas. Like there's Fort Collins, Denver, Boulder. It's not really too poppin' with that. There's not too much rap there, but mainly just Fort Collins and Denver, I'd say, are the two places where I feel like I've kind of been to more events and stuff, and it's all kind of smaller scale kind of things, but it's all pretty organized within itself. But there's not a lot of big coming together of like the different regions and areas of collaborations. It's all sort of clicky and in its own pocket
Right.
of stuff, which
Would you
there's
find
nothing
that
wrong with that,
everywhere?
and it's cool. It's
Yeah.
like there's a lot of different sounds and stuff that I've seen just around here, and it's everybody's just kind of doing their own thing, and they're trying to get to where they want to be through that, and I think a lot of artists that kind of get to a certain point in Colorado end up leaving Colorado, and because they've gotten what they can from here, or they are satisfied with what's happened, and they want to move up to a bigger playing field, I guess I should
Yeah.
say.
Yes, of course.
But it's
They're trying
it's
to
an
level
awesome
up.
place for artists to get a footing and a foothold in what they want to do, and cut their teeth, I guess I should say.
Do you have any favorite like Colorado rappers?
Yes. There are a few people I used to play with quite a few times up in Colorado, or excuse me, Fort Collins, not Colorado Springs. I didn't really have too good of a time down there, but Fort Collins, there's some cool people I met up with. There's this cat named Rolos Rios who's really good.
Rolos Rios.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's almost like got a more of an old school, almost like imagine if Ice Cube was like wholesome and like uplifting and kind of like positive, like in his early career. That's like kind of how it sounds. And then there's these guys that I sort of collaborated with as well called Thin Air Crew. They're really good.
How's that name?
Yeah, they're cool. Let's see here. Colorado rappers. Oh man, I
just
know a
don't know
lot
that
of them,
many.
but there's not a lot of them where I'm like, oh yeah, they're great.
Right. Like I know a lot of them now, and I'm here. But I
But
was just like
I will
wondering,
shout out
like,
those two cats up there in Fort Collins, and then I will also say that well, she's not a Colorado artist, but she's somebody that I would like to at least promote a little bit on this show. Her name's just Dakini Rapture, and she was my
Dakini
business
Rapture.
partner. We did operated a venue for about a year and a half out in Lyons, my hometown. We had a venue out there, and she's amazing. Definitely look her up on SoundCloud. Super cool, conscious rap. She's around here in this area. She lives in Boulder right now, and we were playing a lot of gigs around Boulder before the pandemic, and we're just doing a lot of shows together. And so she's my main kind of. I've DJ'd with her more lately than anyone else, but
tell you.
so
Yeah, shout
those
out
are the
her.
people that I would say are on my list for local people here.
So, other than describing your style, I need you to describe what motivates you. Is there something that happens to you on the daily that it gets you pumped to make a beat? Is it just life? Is it one of those influences? What gets you to actually physically get in there and start producing something?
Yeah.
It could be more than one thing, obviously, and it has to be.
It's
But
kind of a mixture of things, and it's mainly the mixture of the right feeling of where I kind of have to have some sort of emotion that I'm feeling, to sort of where I'm like, I want to, translate this into something more like a project. But then also the other part of it that I'd say is just listening to stuff that kind of makes my mind work in a certain way, or that I'll recognize the sound where I'm like, oh, I really like that sound. I'd like to incorporate that into something, or it makes me feel like that would go better with a different thing or something. You know what I mean? And so it's half of like just how I'm sort of feeling, and if I'm feeling, you know, any sort of specific emotion really, and then infusing that with just like what's currently kind of inspiring me in the world of music,
yeah,
because I try and spend a lot of time just curating songs and artists and just finding stuff that I've never heard before that that interests me really, and that's what keeps me going. Like that's what makes me want to sit down and do you know production and beat making really.
is there any kind of sort of style that you think that you specialize in? Could you say? Could you maybe point that out? Because there's so many
Yeah.
subgenres of hip hop.
Yeah.
Is there a certain kind of crowd you think you cater to?
Yeah, I like kind of like a psychedelic sound, really. Like my general inclination is to go towards like 70 to 80 beats per minute, because you can get a lot of really like kind of down tempo, just like super funky rhythms in there, like I kind of I go more towards the rhythmic construction of a beat before I go towards the melody or the melodic construction of it. Because really, once you get a really cool rhythm down, then you can kind of play with different like melodic elements, and really, I guess just as far as just labeling it, as far as like a genre would go, I really like trip hop and lo-fi, just kind of like I don't even want to say like background music, but almost like stuff you would hear in like a coffee shop, like Thievery Corporation, stuff
That
like
chill
that.
shit.
And like it's almost like drum and bass.
Yes.
It's very much just that like kind of bass line, like rhythmic kind of like you could dance to it, but you could also just chill, you know. And that's what I like. It kind of just invokes this like level of like focus and this feeling of well-being, like this overall feeling of peacefulness and well-being, to where you can really just kind of like feel the rhythm of it and lock into the groove of it, and it's very satisfying to listen to. And it's not like repetitive, but you can also really just tap into it, It's like that's what I really strive for.
Do you have like some kind of like goal or a couple goals you're trying to meet as far as production wise, like in this 2021, 2020 was a wash, I feel.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of goals you're trying to meet?
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I mean, for just sitting down at the computer, 2020 was absolutely not a wash.
Okay,
It
okay.
was the best year I've ever had.
There you go.
For
There you
that,
go.
But yeah, it has made me think about what I want to do for sure, and it mainly is just trying to hone in the sound and keep striving towards getting towards more of the industry standard and getting it to sound bigger and deeper and just more professional, because I'm pretty much self-taught, and like I know how to sort of make beats, in Pro Tools and stuff like that. But I choose to use Ableton because I like the workflow and the way that I can use that tool to do whatever I want. But I think my biggest goals for this year would be to try to branch out a little bit and make some more connections that I can actually get behind and that will sort of be something that will be more long term and sustainable, but also just keeping on the track of what I'm doing already, which is I really enjoy what I do. I make a lot of music just for fun, and a lot of it doesn't really ever get used for anything, but it's just more of a learning experience and me just kind of using it as a tool for like self-expression and stuff like that. And every once in a while something will really strike a chord, and somebody that hears it or that is listening to it or something like that. But above all, I just kind of want to make it just for the sake of anybody who wants to hear it, enjoying it and getting anything out of it. It's not really for the sake of collabing necessarily, or for the sake of just listening to it on its own necessarily. It's all open ended. Like I want it to be accessible from anybody, and not to limit myself from anything that could happen, because I feel like I'm kind of still at the beginning of my journey in a way, So that's my hope, is just that I can grow and expand to things that I've never really had a chance to experience yet before now.
And I respect that.
Thank you.
That's a great answer. So, I mean, before we go, can you please drop anything you can drop for me? You're not a big social media guy, but
Yeah.
if I was to find you, how could I find you?
Well, you can follow my SoundCloud page. That's basically really the only way to get to my music. But also you can follow my Katmandoom Facebook page. You can just look up that name on Facebook. And my SoundCloud page is Katmandoom Beats. And that's the way you can find my music. I do have an Instagram page as well. It's KattyD, KATTYD _wildstyle. That is the Instagram handle.
Yeah, so if you need beats, production, all that shit, make sure you get in touch. Make sure you tap in, and I'm sure my buddy can help you out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that's it, right? That's it. That's TheLowRoad. Thank you for coming on, yeah?
Yeah, man, I had such a good time, brother. Thank you very much.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Woo, 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 woo. Okay.